Hello everyone. Today we're gonna learn about a trading framework called Nautilus Trader. So it's an open source, high performance, production grade algorithmic trading framework. Its core is built in Rust, which makes it super fast. So to install it, you need to install it as a Python package using this command. And so then you'll open your VS Code, and then uh, I recommend you create your own virtual environment using using virtual env, and then activate it, and then do the installation of your package. I have already for you it might take a minute or two, but I already have it installed. And then you will have to create two files. One will be the main file. You can name it anything, but this file will consist of all the Nautilus Trader configuration. Um, so first I have defined here the product type. So I'm going to trade in spot. You can choose whatever you want, linear, inverse. So all these universes are available. I'm going to trade spot, and then you'll define the symbol. So I'm using BTC USDT, and then hyphen. We need to define the product type after that. So these sort of nomenclatures are strict with Nautilus Trader, and then the trade size, and then the trading node config class will define configure it. So trader ID will define as these, and these you can keep as default for now. And then the data client that we are going to receive the data from Bybit. So Bybit data client will define. We'll have to give the API key secret. I'm gonna use the testnet for the tutorial sake, and then the execution client where the trades will take place, that will also take place in Bybit. So testnet, the API keys, and these things we'll have to define, and then other configurations like connection timeout and other things. And then you create your own trading node instance with the config that you defined above. Now we have our own node instance, and then this is the strategy configuration. This is the strategy class that we are configuring here, which is defined in the EMA crossover file. Uh, this will have variables related to the strategy data. So instrument ID we are defining, and then bar type. So bar type will basically tell Nautilus to use, this is telling Nautilus to use a 1 minute bar, which is made up of last executed trades, and is the bar aggregation is done externally and not locally with like Nautilus. And then we are defining the fast EMA period and slow EMA period, 10 and 20 respectively, trade size and all. And then finally we are initializing our main strategy class, which is again with the EMA crossover config, which is again defined in the EMA crossover file, of which we'll have a look in some time. And then remember we created the node Nautilus trader node, so we're gonna add the strategy configuration and the strategy to this node. We're gonna build this node, and then finally this part of the code is the code which runs first. So to run the strategy we'll have to do python main.py, and then this file will run, which will eventually run a strategy. So let's first have a look at the strategy code. So yep, this is the strategy. So Nautilus, basically we override or inherit from this strategy class, which has predefined functions which we override. So this is the init function, which will be called at the time when strategy instance is created. So we are like defining here what indicator we're gonna use. We're gonna average here, and then this on start function will trigger as soon as you start the strategy. So here basically we are registering the indicator. uh, this will warm up the indicator, and it'll automatically update the indicator as the bar data is received. And then we are subscribing to the bars. So in config, if we have set subscribe code text to true, then we'll subscribe to code text as well, and same for subscribe trade text. So yep, and this on bar function will be called whenever a bar is received. Uh, so here we can write our main strategy logic that whenever fast EMA is greater than slow EMA, and if the it'll check if in the current portfolio is flat, meaning like there's no longer short position, then we'll trigger the buy function. If it already has a short position, then we'll close the position first, and then we'll buy, open a buy position. So, and similarly for sell logic, let's have a look at buy function. So this function basically uses this order factory class function by Nautilus trader. We can place different kinds of orders. Here I'm placing a market order where you define the quantity, and then the order size, and then different type of logics like this is time in with time and force. And then when once the order instance is created, you this final sell.submit order will submit the order to the exchange. Similarly for sell. So essentially how Nautilus trader works is it's an event driven framework where for each event a function is called. So if a bar is received, then on bar function will be called. If tick data is received, then on tick function or something similar will be called. And let's say you want to write some logic where if the order has filled, then you want to let's say open a new stop loss order 5% below the fill order. So there is I believe on order fill function. Here you can define your logic. So I'll show you in the documentation. There are like multiple such functions. I believe it's in orders. No, I think it's in, yeah. No, sorry, it's in strategies. Yeah. Sorry, guys. So yeah, these are all the strategy class functions which you can override to write your own logic. So on event is a generic function which can be triggered of whenever a event is triggered regardless of the event type. And then there are a lot of other things, like if you wanna access let's say the position size or the position information, so everything regarding that is stored in cache. So you can access it with self.cache.order, and if you provide the order ID, then you'll get the order. So it's very clean and well written framework, as you can see. So that is it, guys. I hope the tutorial was helpful, and do let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. So Thank you so much for watching. See you guys. Bye.